position. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more to the FACEIT League playoffs here, and glad to have you back once more. Of course, Hunter Tane and Daxatron ready to bring you some more of the action. Of course, we're keeping it back here in South America, and it is lower finals times in front of us. Pumas taking on Goodfellas. The winner is going to go take on Factor X in the grand finals. And at this point right here, perhaps this isn't the match we would have expected to see in the lower finals, but it has been the dominant team of the season versus the plucky underdogs that went and beat Garfo in a situation where we thought Garfo probably had that locked in, but no, Pumas pull it out. They make a big statement.
Yeah, absolutely. Pumas played probably what might have been their best game of the season to this point last night, and it was by far their best game. The one map that Garfo was able to win, it was still very, very close, but Pumas, we talked about it going into that game. The fact that they had that consistency, but they were never able to get consistently over the hump. Well, Hunter, they were the ones that got over the hump and then made a hump of their own that Garfo was just never able to get past. However, like you said, this is not necessarily the matchup we expected to see here. You would really have expected Goodfellas to be in the grand finals through that upper bracket, but because of a forfeit due to not having, I don't think, enough players to play against Factor X back on Tuesday or Monday, they're down here. But it looks like they have enough players here tonight, and they are going to be ready for a fight because they want to bring it to Factor X one more time in that grand finals.
Yep, 100% here. Goodfellas, a lot of these players, that former Element squad from last season, didn't get to make it to those grand finals last time. Pumas, the exact same case, because Pumas wasn't even in this position to be in the playoffs before. So now they're here, they're ready to fight for it, and at the end of the day, everybody has a story to getting those grand finals for taking that big win. And getting things going, we know our first map, it's going to be Lijiang Tower. We saw a little bit of that Lijiang Tower yesterday. We saw how momentum could flop, and this is a map that worked out really well for Pumas. It didn't start well for them, but they finished incredibly strong on it.
Hunter, it was probably the worst start you could possibly have. They had no kills and only deaths to really do their name that entire first point. After that, though, second point was a little bit back and forth, and then third point was all Pumas there. So if you're Goodfellas, you watched last night's series, you know what to really expect here. But at the moment here, we do know what our first ban will be. It will be the Winston. And honestly, Hunter, that's not necessarily the worst ban coming out here if you're looking at Pumas. Goodfellas making that ban, considering Glitch showed us a lot last night, and the one hero, at least dive hero, that showed us a lot was D.Va.
Yeah, I don't hate the choice at the end of the day. I think Winston can be viable in pretty much any map. We've seen Winston be used whether it is in that dive. We've seen Winston used in like Brawl when you use like Zombie comes back, when you would pair it up with something like the Reaper. We saw that back in 2023. And honestly, hey, if you're good enough at it, maybe you could run it nowadays. But no Winston in effect. It could open up the page for that D.Va once more from Glitch, honestly, but I feel like on a map like this, maybe we won't see it. This is going to fall back into the line of some of the Brawl that we did get to see throughout the majority of it last time. A lot of that came down to that Zarya in the latter portions, and honestly, I think there's a pretty good chance that we might see the mirror at some point here today, and if there's a good map for it, Lijiang Tower is definitely it.
Yeah, Lijiang Tower kind of falls in that same kind of category that you would look at when you see King's Row, one of the most scrimmed maps in the game. It's a very wide open map, though, when it comes to compositions. You can play almost anything, but at the same time, King's Row has fallen to that kind of stigma now where, hey, it used to be heavy brawl. Now it's kind of a mixed bag of what you could really expect here. Winston being out does leave D.Va, does leave Zarya, but I like this ban coming out from Pumas. It's the same one they made yesterday against Garfo, banning out the Tracer here first.
Yeah, again, that Tracer has a ton of carry potential. When you have someone like Luvico over on that Tracer, it is really difficult to deal with that situation. So I like the call. I think it's perfect, all things considered. And now we are in a scenario with two characters that are able to fight pretty quickly out of the fight. This opens up the door for something, just for instance, spitballing out here. Venture we saw a little bit of yesterday. I think Lijiang's a pretty good map for them overall. And honestly, it feels like so many of the pool can be opened up. We saw the Symmetra be played yesterday. We saw the Genji on Lijiang Tower. We saw, it was probably like 7 or 8 different DPS at some points. And it feels like there's so much viability right now where it's hard to say for a fact, hey, they're gonna play this and that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the Symmetra was actually a very key reason why Pumas ended up winning the first map yesterday against Garfo. Garfo was still looking pretty good hanging into our second point, but they really started to get sloppy with it. Or not necessarily sloppy, they played a little bit too aggressively, and the Symmetra just basically got 2-3 free point flips going over to Pumas, putting Garfo in a spot where, yeah, they could win the team fights right after it, but they were giving up valuable percentage there. So it was fun seeing that Symmetra there, especially on maybe one of her best maps in the game here. But yeah, you talked about it. We saw a lot of different DPS yesterday. So Venture, we didn't see Venture from Pumas early on. We saw that from Garfa, where it was getting shut down pretty consistently because, again, Garfa was playing very aggressively, and rather than just burrowing in and coming out of the ground, dashing out, they were burrowing in, coming out of the ground, and trying to stay in the fight, which didn't necessarily end up working out for Garfo, but Pumas, they benefited from it a lot yesterday. But Tracer being out here, I mean, still leaves open a lot. You talked about Flex DPS coming out here, would probably be Genji. However, I would not be surprised if we see something a little bit more double hit scan coming out. We did see that yesterday, not on this map. We did see it yesterday a little bit.
Yeah, we did see it a little bit as well, and we saw a lot from these teams, and I think the one thing we have been able to see is a certain level of flexibility. I think Pumas was really able to show that off, and for the times that we've seen Goodfellas, they are very dominant on a lot of these compositions, but I don't know how much we got to saw them be like incredibly flexible in a lot of the games, because the times we did see them, they were 3-0 situations where they took on teams, whether it was like Zenith or Faka, where they were able to kind of get away with those pretty quickly. We didn't get to see them have like a massive test. We didn't watch that game, or at least we didn't cast that game of them in Factor X that ended up going the distance, and, you know, if not for the technicality, you know, Factor X would be in that position. But regardless of that being the case, we are the here and now. Everything in the past is left in the past. Glitch is getting ready to get into the lobby so we can get this game started. As, I mean, just for you, from what we've seen from both these teams, players included, who are you really hoping to stand out for? God, Jesus, I can't speak today. Who needs to be a big standout for their team here today?
I mean, you could easily just say you point at the tanks here, but I think it's both the DPS lines here. We saw it yesterday for Pumas. Glitch was just a solid player for them all night long on that tank, but I think you really look at Lamont and Eli just being able to do whatever they truly wanted to do. And a lot of times winning their teams a lot of team fights. On the other side, though, for Goodfellas, you're really looking at it here as something where you're kind of looking at that DPS line here again. I'm trying to pull up and remember who's actually on that line, so give me a moment.
Oh, good. Take your sweet time.
But like tank play is going to be important. DPS line though for Goodfellas is Shinigami and Cavadella, but Cavadella isn't on the roster. Uh-oh.
Yeah. I'm
Game's
curious.
put on hold here.
Oh, this is going to be very interesting. It could be a glitch in the system. FACEIT has had a little bit of a couple issues in the playoffs so far, so it wouldn't be surprising. So we just have to sit by, wait, see what the situation is going to be momentarily. Who can I talk to? I don't know if I have anybody. Actually, no, I do. I can talk with, who do I have added? No, I can't. Never mind. Well, we'll find out. We'll get it figured out in a moment. I'm sure we'll see that timer restart here pretty soon. I think there might have been a problem with Glitch being unable to make it into the lobby.
And that was something that FACEIT did say. There was a patch coming out today for Overwatch as a whole, so that if this was something where I think they were very highly encouraging teams to reschedule games that were supposed to be today to other days because they knew that there were going to be problems with FACEIT itself here. Hopefully this gets resolved pretty quickly and we can get into this grand finals or into this lower finals, because Factor X is waiting on one of these teams here. And honestly, I could see the series going either way.
Yeah, I think it genuinely can. I think if you would have taken a look at this matchup a month ago, you would say, oh, it's Goodfellas, you know, 3-0, maybe 3-1. But Pumas proved something against Garfo, a team that, if this was Garfo in the situation, we'd be talking a different story. We would say this is an extremely even matchup. We would say Garfo has a really good chance of winning that game. And you have to say the exact same thing for Pumas because they went and won that game against Garfo. The fact that when they needed to step up, when they're the team that had the least amount of wins, they came through, got a massive win. They've got momentum on their side, so now they have to capitalize on that, and that means getting off to a strong start like they, well, we say like they did last time, because once they got momentum going on Lijiang Tower, they ran with it, and they did not get stopped.
Okay, looks like everything is restarting here. So again, we're gonna going through the ban phase one more time here. Rosters are being finalized. They're going through this very quickly here. We already know it's Winston and Tracer, and the teams are sticking to it. Which, I mean, Hunter, we've seen this happen in the past in NA, and teams have actually changed bans in the past. So,
Ooh, there we go.
No, hats out to these teams who are actually sticking with everything here. Looks like we're laying on now a player from each side, but they should be able to get in here pretty soon.
Yep, should be able to, and there we go.
Right.
That is gonna do it. Hey, we get some Overwatch gaming here today. We love to see it. You know, we've had our fair share of days where you've had to deal with a game's not happening, but this one's sitting here right before us. Remember, winner gonna go on to face Factor X in the grand finals here in South America for FACEIT League. Who is it gonna be? We'll know by the end of the night.
Waiting for everyone to load into the lobby, and there we go. Looks like the anonymity diff. I believe that is Pardell there for Goodfellas here on this on that side. So Anon, that is Pardell. But hey, we start off on Control Center, which I think is it's the most brawly of the maps here on this, or all of the points here on this map. A lot of indoor space. Yeah, you have the outdoor area where you can play, but I just don't necessarily know if you want to play that risky there, especially with both these teams preferring to really play Lucio. Here that we didn't necessarily see that much when we covered NA earlier this week, as Wu Yang is really taking that spot here. But in South America, Wu Yang has yet to really been seen much here, as I believe that they are more comfortable with the Lucio, and I don't blame them, but this is what we kind of expected here. Zarya's coming out of the gate. Reapers are not necessarily a surprise either, but BAP over there for the side of Goodfellas is very, very interesting. I think it actually works out a lot better because you want a lot of burst healing with this composition. Yeah, Kiriko can do a lot of healing as well, but I think Baptiste, especially with the Immortality field, just does a little bit more here for Goodfellas.
Yeah, 100%. You see the outright aggression. Lamont able to help move forward. Gonna get a pick right out the gate here. Everybody's sitting incredibly low as Uriel. Gonna have to back out with the rest of their squad. And more than likely, as long as collision doesn't go down, should be able to get first claim on the point as well.
And like I said, the DPS lines here are going to be, I think, the line you really need to watch out for the most. We saw it yesterday. Eli and Lamont were able to do so much, and now you have to look at Pardell and Shinigami here. We know how good Shinigami is, no matter what hero they're playing, but you need to be able to find a lot of value, especially on this Reaper.
Yeah, 100%. Burns through a lot of that bubble, so a lot of charge. Now back online, Uriel super low. Express is the first one to go down, though, and they're burning right through. The double beams were working yesterday, and they're working here pretty good as well. Ferna does get Lamont in the process, but now Ferna is kind of in the middle of nowhere. Is kind of have to hang around the outside area. Gonna try to get out alive, and honestly, should be able to.
They're going to be able to here, but the other side, they really have no true kind of counter for Ferna. So Ferna can get up in the sky a little bit, but it should be something that really leads to a lot of value for them. But the only spot they can really do that is the point. Consumer Rush already out here, though, for FX, as Pumas looking to keep that momentum from yesterday.
Yeah, you see, beautifully done. Goodfellas, everyone going to back out of there. Everyone needs to focus on staying alive from Pumas. They're going to have a grab going into this fight. Nothing to defend yourself with your Goodfellas, and there it is. It's so many members caught in. Getting rid of Ferna. Shinigami not far behind. Euro's got to hold on to that grab for the next fight. As support's going to get out, but already 60% on the board, and still 3 ultimates going to be online for Pumas.
Yeah, Pumas have been playing this map point really well so far. Uriel, though, gonna have grab. You're not that far away from Barrage, Death Blossom. You're not really far away from anything much here. Express, though, kind of lagging behind when it comes to their Consuming Rush. The grab out there finds 4.
Yeah, now Beats online, both gonna go for it. They're just kind of hanging around that wall. It's beautifully played, and still Eli has y'all in the bag, is looking maybe to go for it, ends up pulling back, thinks better of it. Honestly, I think probably makes the right call to hold on to an ultimate. But now you have Ferna going in super low, gets rid of Glitch, a nice bubble being thrown there by Uriel to sustain it. Now, I think we're entering stall territories. Yeah, everybody gonna back out, not give them any more deaths. Take the reset and go in with the Kitsune Rush.
Yeah, I like not stalling there, just backing out. If you win a fight, yeah, it's pretty much going to be map or point anyway right here. Shinigami, though, and Express has a comboable ult right there with the Kitsune Rush Blossom. You can find a lot of value with that, but FX and Eli has the same one ready to go here. TP to get through the choke, and this is exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, and Eli's gonna help get rid of one. It's gotta be Shinigami to the rescue. Gets super low. Helps get rid of two. Uriel is still there hanging around. It's a 2v2, but importantly, Point is going to flip back over. Uriel is going to get that mega health pack. It's a 2v1 situation. We're gonna have to see a touch come through here, and 100% will. Lamont is taking care of business. As Uriel has no help at the moment, eventually gonna get a little bit more care. Express getting back into the fight, but Eli trying to burn away, isn't able to get into the Wraith form in time, and now TV's back to the point. Body starting to drop one after another. Glitch hanging in there on the ball, but the damage might not be enough. Ultimately, as Express able to get out, gets a nice bubble on them, and it looks like Goodfellas will be able to sustain.
Goodfellas gonna be able to take the point back here. I believe Glitch is just gonna roll straight back, swap back over to the Zarya. I understand why they did that, but in that situation there, I think once you got up to 99%, you were okay just giving up the point. I understand you want to try to win it there, but now you gave up all that grab charge you had. Uriel has their grab. Ferna has that barrage coming up here. Hunter, that's a really good combo, especially since we've seen both grabs so far. At least grab 4 people each.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it either. Pop-Ups is nowhere close to this, and you're going to throw it in. You're going to catch on to a couple of people in the backline. Barrage comes over. Ferna gets rid of them both. It's as easy as pie, simple as cake. Glitch, though, wants to try to bring it back, gets rid of one. Uriel gets super low, and that kill would have been really important, but now Uriel going to maintain all of that charge.
Goodfellas gonna have beat coming in this next fight, not that far away from a Kitsune Rush either, and you're starting to see that percentage tick up from about to be 70% here. Photon Barrier, beat, and Kitsune Rush not that far away here right now for Pumas, so they're in a good spot. Photon Barrier gonna be used to split the point, and I like that from there, as they're just gonna rush straight on the point.
Yeah, and now Uriel's gonna be focusing on this point. Pop-Bloods needs to try to get this beat up on time, because you're to see Pardell moving really aggressively. Pop-Bloods right around the corner, has to get Kitsune Rush being activated. Eli has gone down, and now you have to go and pull this trigger. Everybody ends up getting hit with it. Shinigami getting super low, but is getting all the care in the world. Might be able to put this thing on ice, but a nicely timed cleanse. Gonna take them out of the engagement, and now gonna run it down. Glitch with a grab is gonna take care of Pardell through the wall, and eventually Express joining the party. One final touch coming through here for Uriel,
nice.
And that, yeah, it's a beautiful move, and that is gonna close that first round out. But if that is a test of what's to come, we are in for a hell of a series.
We've seen these number 4 seeds here in these last 2 seasons really be able to make runs after losing in the first round. I mean, Zocorp did it last season, or Leaders did it last season, and right now Puma's starting off here good this season here, keeping that hope alive that a 4 seed will be playing in the grand finals. But one thing that happened there towards the end, the grab only got rid of Pardell. Express teleported to them, trying to save them alive, and got themselves stuck in that grab. I'm not gonna say that was something that cost them that point. It was something that maybe you could have held on to there. You never know what happens, especially since you had Ferna there. Uriel was coming back on the ball here. Again, something you never know what would happen here. But Pumas, we saw them play the Symmetra here last night, and they TP'd straight to point each time. And that looks like what's going to be their goal here again this time here around. But with Ferna on the Pharah still, I mean, still, there's no one on the other side to really challenge them once they get up in the air. So Ferna might have a little bit of a field day here, Hunter.
Yeah, there's a really good possibility. He's going to play around that mega health pack pretty consistently. Wants to try to find a good, solid body shot or two. Glitch gets super low, doesn't have any care. And it's as simple as that in some of these fights. Ferna catches somebody out, and this one is already done and dusted. Lamont going to try to get out of there alive and should be able to take the reset. And now, this is where we saw them do those TPs back to point over and over again. Let's see if Goodfellas responds in kind.
Well, Goodfellas, you can already see their support line kind of playing back, and they have a little bit of a quicker DPS line here as well. So you're going to probably see the TP come out there, but Ferna is watching that window, going to be able to blow up any TP. There's the TP out, and you see 3, 4, almost all 5 members. The only one not going is Eli, who makes swap over to this Freya to try to shut down Ferna.
Yeah, and we see the flip come through, but it's not going to work out as well as before, as Uriel gonna help move forward with a little help from Shinigami, and this time, I mean, it is still going to take off like a solid 12-13%, which at the end of the day isn't bad all things considered, but to be honest, the ults kind of get fed up a little bit more on both sides.
And look, you're seeing Pumas make more and more swaps, now playing a double hit scan, something I thought we would see at some point this map, but I think Ferna is really forcing their hand here right now. Freya and Cassie are out here right now. Shinigami playing very up front because, hey, they can do that. They have get out of jail free cards here, but you look at the other side, Hunter, about to come up to 3 really good ultimates, and because of those swaps, yeah, Eli built up a bullet shot pretty quickly here, but that's a huge early pick.
Yeah, but the barrage is massive, pretty much thrown in all the way in, but Ferna gonna get burnt away eventually. Uriel sitting super low. Express the only amount of healing sitting left. Consider Rush, though, is activated, and I think with the 3 you have there, I don't think you can reasonably put this back in the same direction. I don't think you can pop it back that easily. But the important side is everybody's alive, but when they pull the trigger eventually, body's going down, but FX gets rid of 2. If you move up here with your Zarya, Glitch and Pop-Buds might be able to take this one back.
Yeah, but you still have Uriel right there who does have grab, and I would not be afraid to use, and they're not afraid to.
God. Yeah, not afraid in the slightest, and now running for the hills, 80% on the board, just a grab to the name, but the bright side is that grab is not going to have a beat to sustain Goodfellas.
But we'll have a Death Blossom that couldn't really just force him away.
Dude.
Ferna, they're going to be able to find Lamont. Shinigami is down, but you need to find a way to get the point right now if you're Pumas. I mean, you do have Poplots, and that might be the name of the game here. Poplot's going to rush to point, maybe?
Yeah, we will get the overtime touch, and we should see a fight being won here, but the thing you have to remember at the end of the day is they commit pretty much everything to make that happen, as Uriel is going to get taken down, is lose all of that charge. But now, I think the important name of the game is let's just try to give Shinigami everything to make this Death Blossom work.
Yeah, I mean, and you already kind of see Ferna flying around the outside of the map. They're going to be able to find a lot of value already there. Not that far away from Mirage, and that could really open up a lot. That Death Blossom might be used as a little bit more of a distraction. Ferna, though, very low on health, and right now you are looking just for anything here if you're Pumas. One team fight is really all you need to kind of stabilize and maybe get the momentum back on your side.
Yeah, and Glitch is going to get solo ulted basically, but that is exactly what you need. It's going to be worth it. Lamont going to go to the point, and at the end of the day, Eli hoping to bring something back here. Unfortunately, it is just not happening. This is going to go to the distance. That third round of supports go for one final touch, but it's just not happening. Ferna on that Pharah has been controlling the sky.
Yeah, and I mean, like we saw there, Pumas try to do that double hit scan to really slow it down, and I really think that was maybe a little bit of an overstep by them. I thought at the moment it was good, but Lamont really struggled on Cassie. Eli started to pick it up there as well towards the end, or after that first life on the Freya, really being able to put Ferna in a lot of spots where you could tell they weren't necessarily comfortable, but the moment that Goodfellas got an early pick, gave him that early advantage, you saw Ferna get a little bit more aggressive, which is the one thing you truly do not want to see with the Pharah. But now on the other side here, Puma's going to be swapping over to a Pharah of their own. Eli going to give it the reins here. Lamont back over on the sim here. I don't know if it's going to be for a TP out or if they're going to try to stick it here, because honestly, this point in particular, really, really good for sim, and it looks like they're going to be swapping over to the Cassidy because of Eli going over to the Pharah.
Yeah, I don't blame them at all. Might as well at this point. You try the strategy, you realize, hey, it's not working. They make the immediate transition. That's what you need to see out of this Pumas team throughout the entirety of this series to make it work. And hey, out the gate, Shinigami gets taken down early. Rough scenario for Uriel, who's got no health remaining. And that's going to be a simple first fight here for Pumas. We'll be able to unlock this point, take it away. And for Lamont and FX, already 40% respectively to their ultimates.
This is exactly what you want here if you're Pumas. You got the early leads on the first point, and look at what happened. You were able to kind of control the entire pace of that point. Now, though, this is a little bit of a different point. Boops are really here because you have still Lucio, you have Pharah. They can really just boop you off into that fish pond around the point here, so you want to be careful just playing outside of the points area. But right now, with Goodfellas going through White Room, you already see them just charging straight in, and Glitch needs some healing.
Yeah, and you get the bubble over onto Ferna. Ferna can't really be heavily punished without feeding Uriel, who, by the way, is already at full charge anyway. Might not matter a whole ton, but Uriel still has to be able to stay alive here. Sustains another bubble. It's just maintaining 90 plus charge this entire time, and now Kitsuneresh activated. Ferna being taken down, and now they're going to try to run them through. Uriel, no care remaining. A good fight win here, and now, with how long that fight lasted, we're looking at 50% in counting, but Ultimate's coming up heavy for both sides.
And we talked about this yesterday. This point, just in general, seems like to be one of those points that you could just stall out forever. And that's exactly what Pumas did there. Just stalled it out, waited for a fight to really commence. And then they only used one ultimate, a big thing there. One ultimate was used. However, it doesn't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things when the other side's about to have 4 ultimates. But Uriel, not that is decently far away from a grab here, while Glitch has theirs ready to go.
Yep, and now we have a beat online for Pardell. It's going to go directly in, going to stay alive. Eli, though, is still going to manage to burn a couple away here. Fight still winnable, though. Shinigami's going to hope to try to pull this one back around, hanging on the outside, but beat is expended. And honestly, I love the use Shinigami has to take a reset, because we're at 80% and counting. And now, Ferna, ult online, Uriel may not get this grab in time.
Yeah, it's going to be a very questionable thing if Uriel's even going to get this here. You already see swaps coming out there. Ferna trying to get around the outside here to get to point. Ferna, though, going to be able to find Lamont. That's a huge pick because now Ferna can kind of play all on their own, and you do see Shinigami on the point. Looks like they're going to get a free point flip here.
Yeah, but it's still a 3v3 right now. It's a really awkward position, especially with the fact that you're going to be able to get rid of Pardell, and now you're going to go in here. Shinigami going to get booped away, and Poplots eventually is going to get credit for that boop, as they're going to put bodies back on. There's only one person looking for the touch right now. Their name is Ferna. They've got a barrage, and they've got to try to be a hero.
There comes the barrage. Al not going to be able to find much here, but Uriel does have grab here ready to go now, and they find two members right there. The shoes are not going to be enough to save them, so it looks like Goodfellas is going to be able to just keep this map alive, but Poplot's still finding some value. The Wrecking Ball's back here now, Hunter. It's not over just yet.
It's not, because Uriel doesn't have any care. It's down to the 1v1, but this might have been the worst person to have to 1v1 with Shinigami, the last warrior standing on the battlefield, and unfortunately, has to play very carefully here.
And you don't want to start giving momentum up here because, like I already said, this is a very stallable point. And if you're Goodfellas, that's exactly what you want to do here. Even if you end up losing the team fight, you want to try to get as much as you possibly can because, like I said, it is stallable. You're going to have Kitsune Rush ready to go here. Kitsune Rush already ready to go here, though, for Pumas, and they play it early.
Yep, and here's that Kitsune Rush once again. Worked out beautifully the first time around, but Shinigami hanging in the back line, gets rid of Eli. Big boom taking place, but eventually Pardell is going to be able to survive throughout it. Lamont getting really low, might be wary to try to pull off this Deadeye, and I think, yeah, they're simply going to pull back, take a reset here. They'll play back on that bridge.
Don't play too close to the bridge there. And oh no, Pardell! A little bit too far forward. Deadeye out now from Lamont. Gonna be able to find one. It's falling short.
And it's just that simple for it to fall apart. That's the team wipe. No touch gonna be available unless by the grace of God, the best rollout of all time, but it does not come to form. Pumas gonna come in here, start strong once more, take the first map of Lijiang. And oh boy, Goodfellas fought back hard. They made it dominate in the second round, but oh my gosh, just, we saw this before from Garfo, of people just being caught out after they win these successful fights.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something where you could really tell Pardell was not trying to be on that side of the wall. They were just playing a little bit too dangerously there. And it's why I said both teams really need to be wary of playing by those bridges, playing by those edges, especially on that last point there of guard. Because, hey, there are Lucios, there are Faras. You could find those boops out there and end a team fight before it really even started there. Pardell just went a little bit too far there. I don't think they were trying to do necessarily anything. I'd say they were just a little bit too high on the wall to just drop straight down to earth. And hey, Pumas, you get a little bit of a break because of that. Granted, there's still a lot of time left in that map or in that point if Pumas lost that fight. But if you're Goodfellas, you're kind of kicking yourself there. But when you look at the stats here, Hunter, like I'm looking at them, everybody on Pumas had themselves a map. The lowest amount of elims there was FX with 23. Glitch had 44 elims that map there. I mean, everyone was showing out. Pumas, like I said, they've been on a little bit of a heater here as of late. They're keeping it alive right now.
Now, they 100% are, and I'm loving everything they're trying to do here. And Pumas, we're going back to another map that they did manage to win out. In fact, it was the game that ended up taking them into this match. We're heading over to Watchpoint Gibraltar, which is going to be a very interesting situation because we saw before Garfo did push them to the limit here. Both teams were able to finish up the map, and honestly, with the way both these teams are playing, I think it's 100% possible that it's going to be the exact same situation. Both teams are going to be able to finish with time on that clock and bring it down to extra rounds, but it could go a different way. We haven't been able to see like giant defensive stands quite yet from either of these teams. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for one of them to do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this map yesterday was the one that, yesterday was the one that Pumas clinched the series on against Garfo.
Yeah.
They had 20 extra seconds in Garfo. I think they went back to their old aggressive ways and it ended up costing them there. But we do know Widowmaker's gonna be the first ban here. We have seen Widowmaker come out from, I think, every team we've ever seen play this map here at some point, mostly at the start on the attacking side, just to try to find that early quick pick. So banning it out gets rid of that, but it leaves Hanzo, it leaves Cassidy, leaves Ash, leaves Freya. I mean, there's still a lot of options there if you want to play that kind of hit scan hero. But I mean, outside of that, Winston's back in unless we see another ban come out. But no, it's actually going to be the Orisa this time. And Hunter, a very interesting ban here because you don't think Orisa a lot on this map. But I look at it as a swap on the third point. You want to make sure you're not going to be seeing the Centaur there. And I like that coming out there from Pumas.
Yeah, I don't blame it whatsoever. You get to a third point, and you'll see a lot of people swap over to a Brawl tank, whether it is something like the Junker Queen, like the Ramatra, like the Orisa. So I like that they're getting rid of an option like this, and at the end of the day, it takes away an additional option. And that's exactly what you want to do in this scenario. But we're waiting for everybody to get into this one. I meant to look over if there was any swaps, which we did see that it looks like... Is it not? Was Livico not in? Oh, okay. I guess
Livico did not play.
Wow, Livico. It's interesting. Livico usually is a pretty prominent player upon this roster.
Yeah, Livico is not in map 1, and looks like Glitch. We might be going through the same thing here again, where the map's going to have to be reset here, as Glitch looks like they did not get the invite, or at least missed the invite.
Interesting. So we'll see, yeah. Well, so yeah, it's probably just going to be a complete repeat situation, which is fine. It worked out good the first time. Obviously, it'll probably work out good this time as well. But going into this map, when we got to see both of these teams, or I should more say Pumas in this situation, play this map, they did have some of those struggles on defense. Especially you go look at, when you think of something like second point, normally that is one of the easier points to hold in the situation, but it felt like Garfo got away with a lot more in their position when we look back at that second one. And being able to hold on that entire time for that second one is, hey, Lich is in the lobby. It's important because third point can be really difficult to deal with because you have seen teams that just gain ahead of momentum on third point and they just don't stop.
Yeah, like third point on a lot of these just push maps or escort maps always just seems like to be one of those points where once you have momentum, you never really lose it. It's very, very hard to take the momentum back. You're the defending team, even though you have the close response. It just kind of feels like you're at some point just throwing buys out there to try to slow it down, stall out the cart for a little bit, try to find a pick to give yourself a little bit of a chance here. And you don't necessarily want to do that, especially with the risk of being banned out here. I think we're going to see that a little bit here if we do get to third point. But now, coming out of the gate, it's actually going to be Pumas attacking here first. They want to keep that momentum up. And remember, it's them that gets to choose which side they start on here first with Goodfellas picking the map. So they want to attack first, keep this momentum up. And you know what, Hunter? I think this is the right move by them. They want to keep everything on their side going their way here. I like this from them. No Winston though, but as we already kind of expected that, as that was Glitch's go-to tank was D.Va. Looks like it's Uriel's as well.
Yeah, and I'm loving seeing it. And we get a little bit of Wu Yang for the first time in here. Paired up with that Ana. We saw this very thing be played in a previous matchup, Idiom Boot Troop. We saw that being played. So we'll see how it's going to work out for Cardell. As you said, Pumas out on the attack first. Everybody TP'd up to the high ground. DM there to make sure no nade's going to kick off as Uriel gets hit with it and is going to have to play a little bit careful here. If they're too far extended, it's going to be really difficult to save them.
Yeah, and that was one thing yesterday. FX was able to find so much value with those anti-nades pretty early on here. Just toss him in fighting 2, 3, 4 members out of Garfo, really giving them a lot of space. But Eli fighting Shinigami out is exactly what you wanted here.
Exactly what you want, and now Glitch can hang on this high ground because nothing can really stop FX and Poplots from doing what they want to do. Ferna has to eventually be forced to use the raid call because Eli is just not missing right now on all of these sticks, and eventually Express goes down, and we're seeing the train keep rolling. Uriel knocked out a mech, and this first point, it might be done and dusted already.
It looks like it is, and Cardell there for a moment was just standing. I don't know if they were accepting death or maybe there is a pause, but looks like they were just accepting it there.
I think so, yeah.
And Hunter, 5.5 minutes here for Pumas.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
remember this This was a Goodfellas map pick. Pumas, though, showing us why they probably might have needed to reconsider that one.
Dude,
oh my goodness.
Eli, these people have families. You need to stop doing this. Eli, stop doing it! What are you doing to these people? Oh my god. Eli had a big pop-off last time, and now trying to do the exact same thing here. Glitch, though, does get knocked out of mech, but he's going to slow things down momentarily. But Shinigami has to take advantage of this basically with their bullet shot, with the fact that Glitch is out of mech.
Yeah, and I mean, you have Pardell on the... Oh, Glitch is asleep as well. So I think Glitch is going to most likely end up dying here. But, I mean, Hunter, we talked about this. You said, who do we really need to watch out for? I said this DPS line for Pumas, and right now they are showing us why you need to be watching out for them.
Yeah, now it's Eli who goes in. Eli gets rid of another two. But you lose out on FX, you lose out on Lamont. You don't have as much care now if your name is Eli, but Popwatch is going to pop the ult. Glitch is going to eat away at the pulse bomb as well, but unfortunately, things might be falling apart. Shinigami is getting pretty low, but Glitch is about to go down. Popwatch is now stuck within a rock in a hard place. Glitch needs to try to avoid the DMAC, and unfortunately it's going to happen, and they're going to leave him for the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those moments where Glitch had bomb ready to go. That might have been one of those things where you need to use it there so you could have fall back and regroup with your team. Now you're kind of just slowing everything down as you're waiting to get back into a mech yourself here. Nano bomb ready here for the other side for Goodfellas. Not that far away from a tidal blast here. Lamont, though, does have Deadeye, and all you're looking for with Deadeye is one pick or some space, which, hey, you'll take whichever one you can get.
Yeah, you see nobody is willing to peek right now for Glitch, who's going to die just before they remech, so that's a giant time waster. Essentially, now with 3.5 minutes on their clock, it is still a lot of time to work with, but this is what we were talking about before about the second point defense being so tough to break through.
Yeah, and still, 3 minutes on that time bank here for Pumas. You're not necessarily worried about it right now, but if you keep on having these staggers coming out here, like losing Eli, Deadeye, though, coming out, almost finds Shinigami and almost finds Pardell, but it's not going to lead to anything. Instead, it's going to lead to Lamont dying, and Hunter, I wouldn't be surprised if Lamont is going to swap here, considering that was a Deadeye that wasn't necessarily needed.
Yeah, and you're going to see a more concentrated effort on trying to get to this backline. You want to be able to pressure out Pardell and Express as much as humanly possible because they're able to sit back and do whatever they want to do, and Eli gets caught out again here. Eli had a really quick start, and now it is quickly fizzling out as well. As we're sitting on 5 ultimates on one side, and Dex, let's go to the high ground.
3 minutes on the time bank as well. Glitch just needs to fall back. Nano, though, invested onto Popwatch. I don't think that's who the Nano was supposed to be meant for.
Probably not, I gotta be honest. Brig can be a viable target, but Glitch is gonna be able to do that. You're gonna see the Nano being thrown directly over onto the Diva. Uriel's gonna be able to get rid of one. Isn't able to find a second, though, as they gotta get out of dodge, take the reset. Eli. is just back to the final form once again, has gotten rid of 2. Uriel's going to go on that, and this could be a rough situation. That bomb nearly gets rid of Eli, but it's going to work out in their favor. Eli gets rid of another. That's going to be second point cap. Did take off a ton of time for Goodfellas, but still 3.5 minutes on the clock, an extremely reasonable amount of time to work with.
Hunter, I'm just going to say this. I don't think Pumas should have won that fight at all. They should not have gone that second point. The Nano going on to Poplots, I think was a genuine mistake. I think they wanted to go to Glitch. But Eli finding a couple picks there was the main difference maker. Finding 2 to really open up a lot, especially after, I believe, it was Goodfellas that found the first pick there. But you still have Tidal Blast, you still have your own bullet shot ready to go here if you are Goodfellas. However, you're walking into a rally and a pulse bomb on the other side. Lamont looking for a stick here and making sure it's not going to be eaten up.
Yeah, 100%. You don't want it to. Bright side, your ult can't be eaten if you're dead. And now going for that tidal wave doesn't get rid of anybody, but the fight is essentially taken care of. Uriel gets rid of a second. Shinigami's helping finish things out, and now you're looking for another bout of stabilization. The problem is, ults are hard to come by if your name is Goodfellas.
I mean, you have Bola shot ready to go here, but again, that's a really weak ultimate, and especially with the Diva on the other side, it's an ultimate that gets in pretty often here right now. You're about to walk into 3 ultimates, though, if you're Pumas here, so you do have a slight advantage. The rally out here pretty early on. Ooh. The bullet did come out. I don't think it found much, though.
It didn't find anything, but we're still going back and forth. For Lamont, Bolt Razor's taken out of the engagement, which means Eli is going to be able to hopefully start moving forward, but Glitch being out of the mech is honestly what's most devastating of all, and with Popwatch down, there's nobody left to properly defend them, and unfortunately, if you're Glitch, you might just have to take this out here. take another reset now with less than 2 minutes on the clock. I mean, this is exactly what we saw at a second point, where just Goodfellas just maintained such a strong hold.
Yeah, and I mean, Goodfellas doing exactly what they need to do here. They're whittling away that time bank, about 90 seconds left to go. You have bomb, you're not that far away from Nano, pulse bomb, tidal blast, so you're in a good spot. You look at the other side though, they're about to come up the 4 ultimates as well, Hunter, and they're gonna get those 4 ultimates before the other side does here. So if you're Pumas, this might be one of those moments where, hey, you need to have the fight go your way, throw some ultimates out there, find a pick, the momentum will be on your side, and we've talked about it. You normally just see a lot of these fights here on this third point just divulge into touches for the defending team.
Yeah, and here goes Eli popping off. Bomb has been placed in the background. Got rid of one. Eli gets a secondary stick. Is looking for another. Eli eventually going to have to force the ult out of Pardell just to be able to survive long enough to keep helping out on the battlefield. It's going to help keep Uriel up as well, who gets rid of the demon that is named Eli. And with spawns getting back so quickly, Glitch, not that a mech again, going to use the bomb to stay back in.
They want to keep this fight going here. Eli does have bullet shot ready to go. Same thing with Shinigami, but if you're now Pumas, I think you're backing out. Your Ana is really vital to this entire team comp you're playing here. And yeah, they're just going to back out, but in that final fight territory here for Pumas, you're going to have another rally. You're going to have a pulse bomb here for them. The other side, well, they're banking on a bullet shot being huge and Uriel building up to a bomb here, because outside of that, they really have nothing. So Pumas technically in a good spot here. They just need to find a way to get in.
Yeah, and we're getting up close, and then, oh, Lamont dies, and Eli gets that bullet shot. And that means somebody is going to have to live long enough for this touch to happen. That means Eli has got to hide away, but jumps back out to the open. DM is there as touch needs to come through for overtime. It does come through. Popot's going to be able to help this team stabilize a little more on the point, but eventually that's going to run out just like it has. Bullet shot thrown at Poplots. No care left in the world as Body's going to start throwing the way on one at a time, but it's not going to matter as Pulse will still get rid of Express. FX there to keep things going. Glitch needs to be kept in mech. They are literally running for their life as eventually Cavalry there to give a little bit of aid. Eventually they have to go all in, and it's going to work out. Bomb is being thrown out here. You got to try to get rid of him. Unfortunately, Uriel remax, and that could be the undoing.
But still, you're going to see the members of Goodfellas come staggering out one by one by one. Glitch does have bomb here ready to go, but you need to get more members on the cart. Here comes the bomb out from Glitch. It's going to be able to get the DMAC. Is it going to be enough here? Tidal blast out there, but you see the kills go the way of Pumas.
Eli, you can't be doing this. I can't wait to look at these stats, by the way, because Eli was an absolute freak throughout most of that round. They pull it out. They do it in overtime, but they get it done. And when it looked like about 30 seconds ago, it looked like they had almost no chance at all of doing it.
Yeah, they had no chance. I really think they had no chance. Give it up to, I believe it was FX on that Ana, and Glitch just being able to stay alive. I mean, they were 1v1ing Uriel on the other side on the D.Va, and I just don't think Uriel noticed how much health Glitch really had. One good little attack into Glitch gets rid of the mech, and I think the round basically ends right there. But I think they ended up going chasing after Eli, who, hey, I mean, my bad, Lamont. After having a little bit of a slow start and considering how Eli popped off several times throughout that map, Lamont came alive there in that final fight, finding, I believe, 3 picks and really starting it off with a pulse bomb. That was the beginning of that staggering touches coming out from the defensive side, which put Pumas into that position to really be able to finish that map there. However, Hunter, much like yesterday, the first round ended with 0 time on the time bank. And I mean, Pumas did attack second yesterday, only able to get 20 seconds, but that 20 seconds really made the biggest difference in overtime. However, Pumas now trying to deny overtime this time around. Lamont coming back out on the Symmetra here. And I'm going to be honest with you, Hunter, and it's not because I'm a Sim main. I think this is a good move for them, especially knowing that Uriel is going to be going up into that, going into this competition, playing their own D.Va. Just being able to beam down that D.Va is exactly what you want Lamont here, and that's the only thing you want Lamont basically doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a first point thing. I think if they end up going down here, I think the swap is going to be pretty immediate, all things considered. But with that being the case, Uriel definitely is going to struggle going into this. You see the immediately abandon the high ground, realizing, hey, we can't deal with this. TP down there. Glitch is going to take the TP down. That way, they're able to simply get right back up to the high ground on a moment's notice. So it's a really good play call, as that cart has been pushing the entire time, as Frina eventually going to get chased out.
Yeah, but you see this a lot. The defensive teams will allow the card to be pushed up to here because it's a more favorable spot for them. Glitch, though, needs to back up and gets the huge bio nade right there to make sure they're going to be healed all the way back up. Eli, though, going to be taken out after having an amazing round in round 1. They are taken out here first in round 2.
Yeah, Shinigami this time having a little bit of fun over on that Freya. You're going to see Lamont run for it because that's all you can do in some of these situations. Glitch going to go down and grab, I think I'm trying to grab the Mega Health back. No, backs out to their supports to get this going. Lamont is in a really weird spot right now, though. Will be punished thoroughly for it, but it's this Nano that's going to matter the most here. Just has to hang alive, and there it is. Big Nano in effect right now. Big Sleep as well. Papa's able to help take the kill, and that is going to help turn this fight back around. Good Nano, good Sleep, FX, helping things stay alive.
Everything going Puma's way there, right there. And again, only using one ultimate granted. They only had the boulder shot as well, ready to go there. But this has been something we've been seeing a lot from Pumas. Not only tonight, but a little bit last night. They've been able to win fights only using one ultimate. Now they're going to have Bola, Bomb, and Rally ready to go here. But no Rally as Papa's taken out early. And Ferna, the Pulse Bomb, fighting Lamont.
All right, Ferna, we see you. We see you. We respect the game. We respect the abilities, but Ferna no longer has recall. Eli has been running shop so far. Bull shot directly onto her Express is that, and they're going to throw in the title in just to keep Express alive. Ends up being a beautiful call, and that's what you've been seeing this ult be used for more and more rather than an outright offensive ability. But unfortunately, Express is being slowed down by all of those. Bomb being used by Uriel to remake, and it looks like they will be able to, but the question is whether or not they can restabilize.
The car wash is in effect here, Hunter. It's been so long since we've been able to see that in Overwatch. Ferna, they'll get a shutdown car there for a moment, only leaving one turret up, but Poplos has Rally, and FX, another Nano, giving it to Glitch, but they're gonna get DMAx'd.
Yeah, I think they probably should have just played for the outright sustain and taken the reset, but it is too little too late to find out on that one as Shinigami gets extremely low, could get stuck again, but Nano is being used here. They want to win this right here and now, and I think, Dex, that is 100% going to be the case. Uriel does get knocked down the mech, but I don't think you really have the members, but never mind. Popwatch wants to prove me wrong, does get the trade out, as they're going to play behind their walls, stall for as much time as possible, as trying to get bodies back into the fight. Lamont hanging around the corners in no man's land, but Glitch there to save the day, and now 45 seconds on the clock. Uriel's back on the ball, and is going to, I imagine, swap directly back to the Diva.
Oh, yeah, no, going over to the Winston instead, and I like this a little bit better here because they get rid of the turrets, which have been starting to cause a little bit of a problem. However, it's a double-edged sword here because, yeah, you get rid of the turrets, but you leave the bubble there for Lamont to be able to build up that level 3 beam, which will melt anyone on the other side here. 30 seconds to go, Hunter. Ferna will have Pulse Bomb. Could we see another Tidal Wave come out here, or Tidal Blast come out here for Goodfellas, as this is becoming a really concerning thing for them.
Yeah, Bullshot is ready for Eli. You catch the right person at the right time, and that could be enough to pull it around, but Glitch still has to be careful not to have to use their remake too early. So now you're looking for that thing right now. If you're Eli, you're throw it directly, but you're able to get out of there. As Pardell keeping themselves going, Eli hoping to find a little something. It's Ferna, though, that looks for a pulse bomb here soon. Yeah, the bomb nearly doesn't work out for them. They stick it directly over onto Glitch, who's going to get taken for half of their health, but it's not going to take care of them. In fact, it's Glitch who's going to help get rid of Shikigami. They have to go and try to get another touch here, but unfortunately, these bodies are burning away. Uriel's gone. Express and Ferna might not be too far behind, and Pumas with a full hold, one map away from going to those grand finals.
And Pumas, they've basically picked up right where they left off from yesterday. I really thought Goodfellas was able to stabilize a little bit on the defensive side, both on points 2 and on points 3. And I thought they were doing a really, really good job, and maybe they're going to be able to come back out on this attacking side and really show us a lot. But it just wasn't there. Again, Eli having themselves a little bit of a map, and I really think Lamont playing that sim caused was a big difference there for them. Maybe causing a little bit too much problems for Goodfellas, but Eli is the one we really have to be talking about there, Hunter. 27 elims by themselves there. 15k damage. They played out of their minds. So did that support line as well, getting about, I'm going to say that's almost 30,000 healing compared to the 23 that Goodfellas was able to get.
Yeah, it is kind of insane. Also, it's really insane is the fact that oh my god, it's insane what was done throughout this game. And despite the fact that, you know, the way it ended up going, the stat line, it doesn't look all that crazily different, honestly. You'd be surprised. You could look at this board and you could genuinely take a guess either way. But no matter that being the case, what we know right now is that Pumas is on match point. We're going over to Hollywood, where once again they're going to be going out on the attack. With honestly, the way you pulled it off earlier there on Gibraltar, I'd go on the attack again too.
Yeah, Pumas gonna be attacking here first, and honestly, I think if you're Goodfellas, you're gonna be focusing in on Glitch here. You need to get rid of Diva, because that's gonna probably be what they end up playing throughout the majority of this map here. And first ban is in. It's actually Sim, which, hey, Hollywood, first point, third point, I think are really good Sim points. Second point's kind of hard, but hey, TP strategies come in and you can really find a lot of value there. So banning out the Sim is not the worst ban here, but I think you would have focused in on Glitch a little bit here, getting rid of the Diva, as it just seemed like Glitch was able to survive a little bit longer than what a lot of people would do on Diva.
I agree for the most part, 100% on going towards the Diva instead, because that's what we saw before. The Diva got banned out. We were able to see Garfo take advantage of that and take away a map. But that's because Glitch, I think, was being the most dangerous person in that situation. If we take a look at who has been very dangerous overall, honestly, Lamont's one of the names you have to take into heavy consideration right there. Someone who has been consistent. Yes, Glitch and Eli have been popping off like crazy, but Lamont has constantly been in the fight, has made the Symmetra such a difficult thing to deal with here. And I think it's something you have to get rid of here, because if teams, obviously, you don't go in a scrim and say, oh yeah, we're scrimming against a Symmetra team that plays it on Hollywood. You don't practice against that, so when it happens, you don't know what to do. It didn't work out for them on Watchpoint, so you go to another map that plays very similarly. I think it's the correct call.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, second ban has come in. We don't know what it is just yet. Lineups being finalized. Doesn't look like there's going to be any swaps at the moment. But if Luvigo is here, this might be a time you bring them in. And Papo, I mean, we've seen Papo in the past for Pumas, but right now with how Glitch is playing, I don't think you necessarily want to make that swap there. BAP going to be the second ban coming out here, and I like that ban coming out from Pumas, because BAP actually finds a ton of value on Hollywood. So making sure you got rid of BAP here is a really, really good move.
Yeah, I'm liking the move. BAP extremely strong on this map, so I like the decision big time. Going to our third and potentially final map. It is a little crazy to be saying it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the point we are at in this series already. We've seen a lot of great things for Pumas throughout the entirety of their playoff run already. If they can manage to somehow get to these grand finals, man, another amazing underdog story would be coming into form. And this is a situation where I'd be fine with any of these teams winning that championship, because all of them have fought hard. And at this stage of the game, all of them have fought to deserve it.
Hunter, me and you talked about the South American region last season, calling it just this chaos region, because you never necessarily knew what to fully expect. Even the top teams last year, Warfists and Elements, you could really make arguments for what eventually happened, them getting knocked out early on, and it happened. Factor X and Zocorp, our leaders, was able to do a lot in those playoffs, and Factor X playing like themselves again here in playoffs, just being a very, very strong team. But you're seeing it here. It doesn't matter about the regular season. It matters that you got in, and you have to remember the story here for Pumas on why they're here. A little bit of an unfortunate forfeit that had to come by Zocorp in the match against Pumas is really the reason that Pumas is in the playoffs right now. And Hunter, one map win away from the grand finals. They can sense it, they can taste it. Zarya's coming out here from both sides. Lamont showing us the Widow here, something that I'm not necessarily against, because if you can find that one pick, it opens up so much, and we've seen what both these teams have been able to do when they're up one.
Yeah, but is already going to go back and make that swap back over. There's a couple things Lamont could go, but yeah, just going to go take on Ferna over on that Tracer. I like it at the end of the day, but what's interesting to me is Shinigami over on that Ashe, and Ashe just had a lot of value, I think, especially on maps like these. You can find a lot, but you also have to be careful, because you're not necessarily going to have support sitting by you 24/7. So if you get stuck a couple of times, stacks like that, it can be hard to do anything.
Yeah, Lamont though taking out pretty early on here, and that's going to slow down whatever Pumas wants to do here early on, and Lamont now going to go over to an Ashe of their own. And like you said, a lot of value coming from Ashe, mostly just from Dynamite here, and that's what you really want from your Ashe, that kind of dot damage. And now Calypso, they found the first two picks here. Or actually, no, that's Pardell,
Yeah.
my bad.
Cool
Pardell, my bad. So, yeah, so they're going to be falling back here. And this is not the start you're looking for if you're Pumas. That momentum that you had in maps 1 and maps 2 slowly starting to slip away here as you're struggling to really find any picks.
Yeah, this is a big slowdown that we're not really used to seeing from this nice new and improved Pumas roster. And maybe, gonna see the engagement right here as Pardell wants to try to get away with something. And again, the shutdown. DPS are taken down. Lamont, Eli have been really consistent, and they're getting taken down time after time already. As a matter of fact, not a single elimination for Pumas yet.
No, they're very much struggling here. That's not what you want to be seeing from Pumas. Granted, you did get rid of the title blast, which was thrown on to Ferna, and they just went straight after Lamont, who's making yet another swap here. Going to the Cassidy now. FX does have their Kitsune Rush here ready to go, but same thing for Express. Uriel has grabbed, so if you're looking at this fight just coming into it, especially when you look at the ultimates, it seems like Goodfellas in a really good spot here, especially as that Kitsune Rush comes out from both sides.
Yeah, and this fight is it's a little bit of a non-factor. Uriel gets rid of 4. Oh boy, that is a quick shutdown, and honestly, you take that 1-for-1 all trade every day of the week, as FX goes over to the Juno momentarily. Let's see if that sticks. Nope, just to speed them out.
It seems like right now Pumas is at a little bit of a loss here. They're trying to figure out something to get in. Grab coming out. If they can just get rid of Uriel, that would be huge here for them, but everything on the kitchen sink going to keep that Zarya alive.
Yeah, but Bob's gonna have to be invested here after Uriel ends up going down. Just gonna have to stem the bleeding. Eli, again, just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the amount of time that's gonna take is Lamont is currently in no man's land. Took a trip, unfortunately. They are done for. FX is in a similar situation. And right now, Pumas looking just extremely lost right now.
They're trying to just at least get one tick here, but they're struggling to do that. FX fighting Shinigami is huge. Now you see 3 members of Pumas back in the fight. I mean, Title Blast back out there onto Uriel. Gotta be able to find Eli out there. And again, if you're just Pumas, it looks like you're backing out here. But still, because you have those picks and you have, I mean, the majority of your team here, you're gonna try to play fast here with a slight advantage. And Lamont, you needed this DPS line to step up here right now for Pumas. Lamont finding Express is huge.
Yeah, and now Uriel is going to be separated entirely, and now you're finally going to see something come to form, but Lamont gets taken out in the back. Ferna is still trying to kick some rocks here in the back. He's going to have the Mega Health Pack and a Pulse Bomb.
1 tick online here now. Ferna gonna stall it out for a brief moment, but looks like Puma should at least be able to get 2 here. Lamont, Eli have ultimates ready to go here. Same thing for FX, so Puma's in a pretty good spot here. And it actually just looks like...
Oh, wow.
Interesting there by Goodfellas. I really would have thought we would have at least seen an engage just to try to get rid of some ultimates, because now you give Pumas a little bit of an advantage here with these ultimates to play aggressively, and if you can dislodge Goodfellas from this high ground of your Pumas, you really open up the second point in your favor.
Yeah, we'll see whether or not they live to potentially regret not going through that touch. It would have been risky. 100% that is what it would have been, but Eli has been taken down already. Shinigami been extremely consistent over on this Ashe thus far, as another grab going to be up online for both sides as well. Kitsune Rush is available. There's so much going to be available here, but Glitch needs to stay alive to make it worthwhile. Pulse Bomb thrown in, gonna catch directly onto 2, and unfortunately, Lamont burnt away. And I guess your silver lining is that is a 3-for-2 ult trade. So
3. Oh yeah, 3.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, 3 ultimates coming out there, but right now, I mean, you look at the other side here for Pumas, you do have Grab, you do have Bola, you still have to deal with, you know, the Suzu coming out there. No Title Blast, so you might want to use this Grab Bola pretty soon rather than later, just try to get some utility out from the other side here. But you already see Glitch and Uriel going at it.
Yeah, you already do. Glitch is already sitting extremely low, has to be getting burnt away, forcing all these bubbles out. Uriel gets pretty much soloed, and that's nice and all, that's cool. Unfortunately, your DPS line's already dead, so you can't really take advantage of this.
I mean, you could try, but Glitch doesn't have the health to really do it. They're starting to get healed back up. Eli now going over to the Genji here. A minute to go, and they need someone to be able to get up there and contest that high ground, because Zarya cannot do it on their own. Bob out there, but hey, the majority of Pumas is on that high ground.
Yeah, but FX's help got rid of 2 as well. FX has been having themselves a game pretty far, but
Bob didn't work.
Yeah, but only 40 seconds left on the board. This is essentially Final Fight territory. They cannot afford to lose another fight.
they cannot afford to lose in the fight. If Glitch dies, you're going to probably see them go right back over to maybe a Diva, maybe a Wrecking Ball, just try to get back to point here. But Uriel alone on the high ground. If you could find that pick, it would be huge. Tidal Blast thrown out on the Ferna as they're chasing after Eli. Not going to be able to find the stun, though, as the beat does come out from Poplots.
Yeah, but Eli was the one person that didn't get hit with it. Nearly ended up going down as a result. With Cinder Rush activated, Glitch is going to be given everything and the kitchen sink to keep them going. Pulse Bomb it, you're going to hear that stick. Unfortunately, doesn't get its value. Ferna ends up going down. Lamont, you hear the stick sound as well. It also doesn't take care of anybody. These cleanses have been fantastic from both sides today, but eventually War of Attrition going to be going the way of this overtime squad. Minute and a half left on the clock here. Pumas will have a chance to finish the map once again.
And the fact that Pumas got rid of Uriel there, who's so close to a grab, was a main difference maker there. And I also loved how they didn't care that Uriel was throwing bubbles on themselves there. They were just all five going at them, making sure that Zarya's bubble were popped and then the life was taken from their eyes. And man, did they do a good job of that. Not a lot of time left though, Hunter. And third point on this map becomes very interesting because it becomes a little bit more of a brawling map. And granted, we haven't been seeing dive at all here, which we kind of refer to this map as. It's been brawl throughout right now. Glitch so very low. Eli trying to get back to that large health pack, gonna be able to get here, but getting rid of Shinigami, who goes over to the Cassie here early on, is huge for Pumas.
Yeah, and you go for that grab there, and Uriel does give up their life. It's down to a 3v3, but your hammer on the back, unfortunately, Cardell has to kind of go play for the life as that card's gonna keep making progress.
It's not going to be much progress here, as you're really going to see just the majority of Goodfellas come back out here. You have Kitsune Rush ready to go, but Uriel, no grab. Glitch going to have grab. Pulse Bomb ready to go as well. That's a combo ult here, but no combo this time around.
Yeah, it's a awkward grab, but it gets onto the Desired People's support line. Gets interrupted pretty badly, but it's down to Eli to try to make this blade worth its weight in gold, and that it has. The Superstar has been popping off all night, and it might be enough to secure their spot right here as they'll finish the map, importantly, with time on the clock.
Somehow, some way, Pumas goes from looking dead in the water to finishing with time. It's insane. Once they got momentum, though, Hunter, they never gave it up, and you could really tell that Goodfellas was looking for anything, something to find it. Shinigami going over to the Cassie never really worked out for them. Uriel, I mean, the Zarya did work very well. It just fell apart there towards the end. I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's because, hey, Goodfellas played bad. I just think it was good. Pumas figured something out there. They got that momentum, never really let up on it. And hey, 6.5 seconds, you'll gladly take that. The map is complete as well. So you're at least going to have an overtime round here, no matter what. But now coming out of the gate here, remember, Pumas really struggled to get anything going on the offensive side. Goodfellas, though, what are they going to do here? Are they going to be able to kind of roll through like they were able to, like as good as they were able to do on the defensive side here, just roll through first point? Because at this point, Hunter, I think if you're Goodfellas, you really need to have a large time bank going into that second point.
Yeah, no, you need it. The way things are, the way things have been going, this is what you have to do in a scenario like this. But we're looking at the lineups. Nothing is really changing with either of these lineups. Everybody's been pretty consistent with what they have been playing. And now we're going to see how much this situation is going to matter right here. Because, again, remember, this was a full hold against this Goodfellas squad before. Now, they got an opportunity to break through, and most... interesting. Shinigami's still going to be on that. To be fair, they were super consistent on it during that first half.
Yeah, we talked about how Ash finds a lot of value here, especially with dynamites, especially just with, hey, clicking heads. Eli taken out here early on, but Lamont was a bigger problem towards the end of last map.
Yeah,
or last round.
Yeah, and you're going to see an early get out here as Lamont eventually has to go down. They realize, hey, we have to commit here. We're in an awkward situation. Glitch does get rid of one, but Glitch also dies. So unfortunately, everybody has to run for the hills, but I think at this stage of the game, first point is already lost.
And Hunter, what did I say that Goodfellas needed in this round? A lot of time going into that second point push, and that's exactly what they are going to get here. Almost 6 minutes on that time bank for them. Lamont now going over the Widow right here, and honestly, I like this swap here. This point push in particular, because of how tight and narrow this road is for the card push on, Widow does find a lot of value if they're able to sit back and not be harassed. And outside of Shinigami, there's really no one that can truly harass them. Maybe Express, but I don't know if you want your Kiri really focusing in on a Widowmaker, maybe 2 roofs away.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to personally, but everyone's gonna hide away as you see. Lamont's looking for the shot, doesn't get it off, as eventually they're gonna throw Uriel on the point, which honestly, is the right call. It's the one person that can't be one-shot killed in this scenario, so doing what you can. As you see, Glitch drop down onto the point, came in from the high ground, and now everything feels like it's at a bit of a standstill right now.
Well, it's at a little bit of a standstill, and Shinigami, they have been just Lamont's kryptonite this map here. But you just saw Pumas give up that high ground here. You're starting to see them get back up to it, but at the same time, you see that cart just casually being pushed up here by Uriel.
Yeah, and Eli being caught just before that nade hit them, and now I'm gonna stick through. Nice sleep onto Uriel to give them a little bit of room to work with to try to get out. Build up towards that nano. They're getting incredibly close. Poplots gets incredibly low. But will it be kept alive? Is Glitch is probably gonna have to be given the nano here. Yep, there it is. Full force. Lamont gets a nice shot on this Shinigami, I should say, as Glitch is gonna keep running forward. Uriel and squad quickly disappearing. This is their first fight win on the defense, and the damage has certainly been done.
And this is what you needed here if you're Pumas. You need a fight win just to stabilize everything. That cart's pretty far pushed up, so it's gonna be difficult for Goodfellas to get back here. But Bob beat Kitsune Rush, grab, ready to go here now for Goodfellas. You're in a good spot. Visor coming out, not necessarily anything that you have to worry about too much, as honestly, I think Goodfellas is just gonna kind of wait for it to fade away before they go in. But you look at the ultimates ready here for Pumas as well. Grab, Blade, beat, Hunter. There's a good chance we see 6, 7 ultimates come out here relatively soon.
Oh, there's a high possibility, honestly. But Uriel nearly gets knocked out early. Crab is thrown directly onto Glitch, who's given a lot to work with. Unfortunately, that grab gets diddly squat. Now it's Eli trying to bring this one back around, but the beat's not going to keep them alive. So now we're back into a 40-4 situation. And by the way, that car was moving throughout that entire fight to get it back into one-fight territory as Ferna in healthy condition.
I like what Ferner did there. They went to go get the car, just try to drag back Pumas there. It ended up working, but Lamont, again, it just seems like whenever one of these DPS heroes gets hot here on either side, they become the scariest player on the field here. If Lamont can keep clicking heads, it's going to be a very, very difficult for Goodfellas to do anything. Grab out here as Glitch just wants to get rid of Uriel, and it's going to end up working out for them.
Yeah, hey, we love our targeted ultimates. Love to see it as backing out once again. Glitch able to finish a couple numbers off, but still 240 on the clock, still a lot of fights to work with. Double DPS ultimates, Kitsune Rush right now, and for the moment at least, nothing online for Pumas.
Time bank now cut in half here, but like you said, nothing online for Pumas. They're going to have a nano at some point in this fight and probably a visor, but still, Bob, Kitsune, Pulse Bomb ready to go here for Goodfellas. I said this going in the last fight, they have the ultimate advantage, but it didn't necessarily lead to much there as they're playing very, very safe, trying to get ultimates out from the other side. This is one of those fights, Hunter, where you probably need to use those ultimates.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's going to be out there, and unfortunately, not going to get anywhere near the intended value. Kitsune Rush, almost a formality at this point, is they're going to burn their way through, and reasonably, no one's going to touch this point. Should be a cap here, as there'll be about 3.5 minutes on the clock. They're looking at it, but they realize, hey, we just got to get out of here and regroup. Oh, they're gonna re-engage. Okay. Momentary touch.
Hate it.
They're gonna get back in time. FX gets rid of them. I was so certain this was gonna be it, but now literally a fifth of a meter away, and this is indeed not going to work out. To be fair, I don't hate the idea of going for it because it's not that easy to immediately hold up there. So hey, you go for it, you get an extra ultimate out. So I don't hate it.
Well, the Bob I thought was questionable anyway, coming out there. If you're Goodfellas, you had to kind of expect you already had that .1, even if there was another fight. But, I mean, that just whittles away a little bit more of the time bank, which is the only thing I really think Pumas was trying to do there. Yeah, they found that first pick, and you never know what happens after that, but they got away a little bit more time here. No ultimates, though, for a long time here for Pumas here. You're going to have grab, beat, ready to go for the other side here, Hunter. And we could see exactly what we saw last round where Goodfellas has that momentum, has the ultimates, just kind of roll straight through here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they've got right now. The important beats. And FX gets spooked off the high ground. Glitch, though, is extremely low. Eli is taken care of as well. Lamont is able to get a kill in the back right there, but has got to try to get out. Poplot's dying on the point for a reset as they get one more fight here. Should have time for the retouch.
Poplot should have rally. You see already Eli and Lamont swap over here to touching heroes. Ferna, Calypso do have ultimates ready to go, and Express not that far away. Ferna, they'll put to sleep permanently there. Shinigami, they're going to be able to find Lamont here, and without Ferna alive, look at what it does there to Goodfellas. They're just deciding to wait for their fallen teammate to come back, even though it's an even fight at the moment.
Yeah, now you question, do they go on the aggression right here and go with a super aggressive beat? I think the possibility really exists, but FX sitting incredibly low. Has a nano right around the corner. And for the moment, at least, it's going to be kept alive. Needs to catch on to Lamont. Nano's thrown in. It ended up going directly onto Lamont. Don't know if that was the intended target, but that's where it is. Glitch needs to be kept up as well. Sleep being thrown in. Not going to find any bodies as we still are holding on to this beat. And they're waiting for Glitch to have this ultimate, but Glitch now has it. Beat's going to come out here. Glitch is now going to hit them with the grab. They're burning back and forth. They're getting solo on both sides. Glitch needs to be taken care of, eventually separated from the squad a little bit. They're going to be taken down, and it was almost better safe than sorry, but at the end of the day, Lamont going to go down. That was a make or break fight there for Goodfellas, and it works out in their favor.
A 47-second difference here right now, and it will be Pumas attacking first here in overtime. And Hunter, you have to remember, Pumas struggled. They struggled mightily their first time around here on attacking, so they really have to try to correct all the mistakes here really fast, or else we're going to see the start of potentially a reverse sweep here. And I really do think Goodfellas, they have the players, they have the talent, they can really start a reverse sweep here and keep it going later on into the series.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the biggest damage dealers shouldn't be any surprise in the world. It's the tanks. Uriel and Glitch have been doing phenomenal things, but importantly, Uriel has 17 extra eliminations in this entire round, inside this entire map, which is massive. It means they're getting a lot of these finishes. They're getting a lot of these big picks in these fights that are swinging their way. And honestly, I mean, Pardell also has to be in that conversation, has 30 elims as well. This team has been insane throughout the entirety of this series, genuinely, and now they have an opportunity to start bringing it their way here as Glitch, for the moment, sitting on that Winston, and this is going to be a very interesting strategy.
Yeah, one thing though that we're starting to see a little bit, it was a little bit evened out last map, was just the supports getting credited for kills or elims. If you can go back to map 1 stats, that is something that was surprising to me. Remember, I believe it was like 25, 22 elims was the lowest on the team there for Pumas. You had both support members get over 22 elims here, and the dive coming out here early on, but Glitch and Poplots, they need some support, and they need it fast.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this gamble doesn't look like it's going to work out. Glitch be purged away, but to be honest, I don't blame it, because if everyone dies really quickly, especially Eli, who's around the corner, you see, they're going to wait. They're going to take their sweet time killing Eli, but everybody's going to be able to reset for one more fight.
Lamont, though, they're the one that needs to get out of dodge here, and it's not going to end up working out for them here. Glitch can stay on the Winston here, but I like what Uriel's doing. They're playing up a little bit, same thing with Ferna. They're trying to make sure that if there's a touch, be a desperation touch here now for them. And you already kind of see at this moment right now, Hunter, you want to be up around that choke. You're now going to be rushing in here to find a touch.
Yep, and hopefully you can just send Lamont for the touch. There is the overtime touch, but Lamont can't recall in time. This could be devastating. FX needs to try to stay alive. Keep it going for Glitch. They need to try to find a perfect target to go after. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a perfect target right now. Eventually going to go back to the outside. Eli incredibly low. Glitch is going to need a little bit of care. Is going to dive in one more time to find something. But Eli can't stop that from going through. Glitch, though, helps get rid of one. Uriel's in such a vulnerable position. Goes down as well. It's going to come down to Shinigami trying to pull this one back. Ferna's going to have a pulse bomb into this fight as well. It's going to stick onto the perfect target onto Glitch. As Lamont trying to make their way back into the fight, they might have to surrender one tick here.
I don't think they're going to have to here. Casino coming out right now, but you still see these two DPS members staying alive. That's a huge pulse bomb, though. Shinigami trying to build up to a bomb. Not going to be able to find it here. One tick going to be guaranteed. Maybe two here. Actually, Uriel falling all the way back here. I understand why. I don't necessarily know if I like that they fell back there.
Wow. That shouldn't have gone Puma's way, but it did, and that could be a potential nail in the coffin here in a couple minutes. And the question is, how much farther can they possibly take this?
You never know here, but anything right now is just bonus for them here, because really getting anything on that first point, I think both me and you kind of thought was going to be very, very difficult. If they can really get it up to this little bridge here, it gives them a really good spot. The tidal blast is out. Going to be able to find stuns on the two.
And Popwoods can't even ult in time either. You get knocked out of mech, and it's not really going to matter here. Bob is eventually going to finish it out, and dying with that beat still in hand. maybe something they live to regret, as they will, in all earnest, they get past that first point, which is the bare minimum here that you've got to get done, and now they do have a win condition.
They have a really good win condition. I mean, first point is difficult, but you have to remember, going back to Goodfellas, first attack last in the second round of this map, it was one fight and done for Goodfellas. They were able to get it pretty quickly. And if you're Pumas, this might be one of those moments where you see staggering touches just to get it down to one fight territory here, because you don't have a lot of progress on this cart push. I mean, it's just past the doors right there. That golden box of victory, not that far away after you cap the first point here. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. And you see both these teams, they kind of expected, or at least I imagine it was Goodfellas expected to see a little bit of a dive come out there from Pumas. Pumas, though, they're just setting up for exactly what they want, or what they think, or not what they think, what they probably know is going to end up coming out here with both teams here going back over to the Zaryas. Eli, though, playing the Torb.
This would be the most
Where's
Eli.
the turret?
Yeah, this would be the most Eli thing ever if this is how they take
Where's
this one
the turret?
away. I think it's sitting top left, right above him. In fact, I can literally check. Am I right? No, where is turret? Turret's got. Well, remember they have the major perk. Oh, it hasn't been thrown out yet. It gets thrown
They
up
just
on
threw
the
it out. That's an interesting spot. I would think they would throw it up onto the roof just after you get through the choke point right there. Something that would force them to turn around, not necessarily just have to quickly look up. Glitch, though, already taking very low here. And this turret really needs to do a lot here right now. The moment it gets destroyed is the moment you really want to at least have a man advantage.
Yeah, and Lamont gets hit 3 times in a row, but Shinigami does get taken care of, so it's going to cause a little bit more of a stall, as Glitch is going to need a little bit of care to work with. In fact, he needs a lot of care to work with, as they're seeing that 100 energy right now.
And right now, that's exactly how you want that first fight to go there. If you're Pumas, you got rid of one member in that fight, completely ended right there. A minute left to go, though, so you still have a lot of time. Turret coming back on almost the same exact spot here, as the only person who really focused on before was Pardell, but you lose Lamont now. You need to play a little bit smart here, but you're losing your support line.
Yeah, but Uriel goes down. That is worst case scenario, and now you almost have to back up unless you find a pick here. Express is super low. You still have Shinigami trying to hang around, but no, with Uriel down, you got to reset. Unfortunately, Furnace not getting out. This is final fight. This could decide the fate of our grand finals.
That's a costly mistake there by Ferna. I understand maybe they were trying to clean up 1 or 2 members there, but you ended up costing yourself. And like you said, Hunter, that one pick right there puts them in the final fight territory. Beat should be ready for Calypso. Express should be able to build up, but a huge Anthony coming out there. FX does have Nano here. Glitch not that far away from Grab, and you can see him desperately looking to get it. They have Grab ready to go here, Hunter. You
Yeah,
can see
and
a
it's
chance
right
there.
there, and
There's
it's
no
out.
touch
The
coming out.
Ajax! The Ajax, and it's done! It's over with. They're burnt away! Pumas make another upset Shinigami can't touch, and they will meet Factor X in the grand finals. Oh my god.
And an Ajax right there. That grab was going to be so important there, coming out from Glitch, who in this entire playoff run here in this lower bracket, we have seen this Pumas team really come alive. They seem like a team that can go take on the world and come out on top at the moment here, as they've already been a team that, Hunter, I think both me and you expected to see in that grand finals. And now they have a chance to go take on Factor X, who's looking to find a championship this year after barely losing it this season, after barely losing it last season to Leaders. But Pumas right now, they're looking like a team that no one can stop. Factor X, they have themselves a very, very tough opponent on Friday.
That they do. Oh my god. I still have my breath taken away from that final fight. That is incredible. And to be fair, everything in the world to this Goodfellas squad, they went in there, they fought really hard to try to make it happen, but again, it's the exact same scenario that we saw yesterday from Pumas. Had a bit of a rough go to get things going, but then they come through, they carry all this momentum. They ended up finishing watch point and committing a full hold on top of that. And just on Holly, when it looks like finally they're going to get stopped, they clutch up big time, having must-win fight in the overtime. And that is the fight that ended up realistically doing it right there. And then you get the grab at the end, the Ajax comes through, and smartest thing in the world in that situation is Glitch knew exactly who they wanted to get rid of first, because that was the one person that was going to be able to stop that grab from being a success.
Yeah, and hey, this is also a little bit of revenge here for Pumas as well, because they got
Yeah.
knocked down to this lower bracket by Goodfellas. A 3-0 sweep in that one right there, which I think had a map drawn, I believe, because that's why it shows 4-0 on FACEIT. I believe it was, yeah, I think, yeah, Kings Row was drawn there, and they played a fourth map off of FACEIT. So that's why when you go look at the stats there, it says it's a little bit weird. But hey, they found some revenge here. It seems like they really have found out a lot here in Hunter right now. This Pumas team, like we kind of mentioning it, hitting their stride. They're firing on all cylinders right now. Glitch is becoming one of the most solid tanks here in this region. And Eli and Lamont, it doesn't matter who it is. We're talking about Eli a lot here at points throughout the series, but still Lamont was getting in the kill feed, whether it was on Sim, whether it was on Tracer, or maybe a little bit there towards the end on that Torb.
I mean, yeah, 100%. It was absolutely insane. This entire map. Even this is a 3-0. This is one of these 3-0s that you're going to sit back and you're going to remember for a little while. And now this Puma squad, they get to walk into Factor X, and all things considered, potentially one of the most dominant teams we have seen this season come through. And now this is a match where it literally is now Factor X, who before they were the underdogs originally going into those playoffs. They were a team that, hey, we don't know if they are the best team, but they have the possibility against Pumas, which is basically taking their spot over from last season. They make this beautiful run. They take on some really big teams and take dominant wins. And now it is literally the unstoppable force and the immovable object going at it. And at this point, I could not genuinely tell you what that scoreline is going to be. Make your parlays, ladies and gentlemen.
Hunter, let's set up the story here for Pumas. Remember, last season, they barely missed out because Garfo was able to find an upset victory to keep themselves in this Masters tier. Yeah. Pumas, first team out because of that one loss there. They were able to be the last team in this year, kind of in weird fashion, because like we kind of talked about, they got a victory because of a forfeit by Zocorp late in the season, giving them the tiebreaker on them. Well, they lose in the first round to Goodfellas in a 3-0 sweep. They take out some revenge on Garfo in the lower semis. They get revenge here against Goodfellas in the lower finals. Now they're one more win away from history here. But same thing could be said for Factor X, who was so close yet so far away last season to qualifying for EWC. Both these teams have very compelling stories going into this grand finals, and it's going to be one that is going to be for the history books here.
It will, because at this time, both teams 100% deserve it. They deserve to go and win that grand finals. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Only one of them is going to be able to do it, and I'm really excited to see which way it's going to be. Now, with that being the case, from what we know, just because obviously FACEIT has some of these games that are pre-scheduled, but they can be changed. For the moment, this game is happening on Friday at 7 p.m. EST. Obviously, that is subject to change. We don't know if it's going to stay that way. Obviously, we have Redder in chat, actually. Redder might know a thing or two on if that's staying there. But for the time being, it is currently booked for that time. And I said it yesterday. I'm happy that they're going to have their own grand finals day without having to worry about NA or AMEA. And it's just exciting that we kind of get to dedicate a day towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this region deserves a lot more attention than what it really gets here, because these teams are really fun to watch. And I think if you give this region some more attention, you're going to start to see a lot more great players come out of it here. But Hunter, like we've been saying, only one more match to go this season, and man, are the storylines there for both those teams.
Yeah, these storylines are beautiful. I am extremely excited what the case is going to be, because obviously we will be covering those grand finals right here on this channel when we get to there. But it's going to be an exciting time. It's going to be an exciting time for the South America region in general. Everything going on here, everything with CGL, everything going on with the Copa America that's happening here in a few weeks' time. It's really exciting. But with that being the case, we're going to take things away from the night. We're going to take a little bit of a break tomorrow. When we come back on Friday, we're going to have those South America grand finals between Pumas and Factor X. Who is it going to be? I haven't the slightest clue at this point, but we'll find out on Friday. Hope to see you there for some more FACEIT League action.